the keys are to the glory days at the stick. From who's got it better than us to brick by brick. It's always the 49ers way, from off-season to game day. Yeah, we talk back. It's the 49ers Cutback.
It's 49ers Cutback podcast time. Welcome to the show, everyone. We're going to be talking about minicamp and what's been going down in Santa Clara as the 49ers are wrapping up a big portion of their offseason program, and then they're going to go take some time off. So there's going to be a dead period of time where the 49ers players and coaches, it's not that they're not still doing things, right? Players are still going to work out. Players are still going to be able to do the things they need to do to prepare for the season. But they're going to get away from the facility. Most guys won't be going to the facility. There will be some that still go there and work out, but the meetings are not going to happen. And these guys are going to get a kind of an opportunity to spend more time with their family, detach, because when you get to the training camp portion, everything gets hyper intensified. You've got a lot of things you've got to do. You've got to be locked in. So you get away so you can get locked in. It's good for everyone's mental. I think Kyle Shanahan's one of the best at understanding this. Mini camp could be 3 days. Kyle Shanahan does too. And even then, he's working on these guys, making sure he keeps them healthy along the way. Learn to manage your players both physically and mentally, and your coaching staff as well. They're going to be heavily taxed during the season. There's going to be a lot required physically, mentally. So I love this approach from Kyle Shanahan, and they approach it as 40 days away to go kind of get yourself ready for what is to come. Because what is to come is an opportunity for the 49ers to go back from being 6-11 to being a powerhouse in the NFC. The schedule's lined up. You've added key players. You're kind of setting yourself up for an opportunity to have a productive season. And they need to have a productive season. They got a bad taste in their mouth for what happened last year. These guys are winners. They're used to being in the NFC Championship game, 2021, 2022, 2023. NFC Championship game, 2023 Super Bowl appearance, and they don't see themselves as, well, we hope we're going to make the playoffs. No, they want to go out there and they want to earn it. They want to give themselves an opportunity to go win, because that's what winners do. That's why guys like Trent Williams and Fred Warner and George Kittle are signing up, to come into OTAs and be that positive, force for the young players that are coming in. So it's a big time mini camp, and we've got a lot of news coming out of mini camp. The information about injuries, what's going on out there. But let's remember that this is just a continuation of what you've been hearing from OTAs. Mini camp is no different than OTAs. The only difference is it's mandatory. The OTAs, those are optional. You don't have to come in. It's encouraged, but that's why you had guys like Trent Williams who had never been to OTAs in the last 10 years, or Nick Bosa, who skipped OTAs except for, when he was a rookie. He's been constantly doing that training at home in Miami most of the time. So remember that this is not training camp. You're not expected to be playing at a high level. And I thought that Kyle Shanahan said something really important yesterday that I think kind of sets the foundation for how we should view, mini camp, OTAs, and training camp when it comes to stats. Is he was talking about Mac Jones, because Mac Jones had said that, he's not really ready to see it and let it go yet within this offense. He's too afraid of making mistakes. And Kyle Shanahan said, hey, if you don't throw interceptions during training camp or mini camp, you're doing yourself a disservice, because you have to be able to step in there and throw the football. Because if you're too worried about that now and seeing what plays you can make and just going on timing and getting used to those reps, when you get to the game, it's not going to serve you right. So remember that when we're talking about mistakes at practice, that these guys are supposed to make mistakes. That's how you find out that you're doing it the right way or you're doing it the wrong way, so you can make corrections. These are coaching points. Make mistakes now so you don't make them in the game. And as training camp goes on, you're going to see the mistakes lessen and lessen. And they get into the preseason games, they go out there and they try to prove that those mistakes are only on the field, because you're getting maximum reps on the field during practice compared to what you're going to get in the game. So it's an interesting thing. We're going to report what happens at mini camp, what happens at training camp, and talk about it. But I'm going to try to keep less focus on stats and more focus on what they're doing production wise. So if you haven't been on the channel, that's kind of what we do here, a coaching perspective on these things. So it might be a little bit, different from what you hear from others when talking about training camp. I might still give you the stats, but I just want to let you know stats are not important in my point of view to how things are being perceived or how coaches look at things. You don't evaluate stats if you're a coach. That's not what determines who plays on the field and who doesn't. It's who's making the right read, who's making the right call, who's in the right place. Even if you don't finish the play, if you're in the right place, that's a good step. So that's what we're going to be talking about, all about minicamp. And there's a lot of good news about minicamp. And there's just a lot of news in general. Whenever you get Kyle Shanahan up there at the presser and you get some players too, you get some good information about what's going on. Yeah, please like and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. If this is your first time, wait until the end of the video and then decide if you want to give me a like or a subscription. Either way, I really appreciate you stopping by the channel. Thank you so much. If you're listening on audio platform, 49ers Cutback on Believe Network, please give it a 5-star rating. That's Spotify, Apple Podcasts, wherever you listen. We're available everywhere. And then, of course, if you are going to bet with Bet Online. Bet Online is the world's most trusted betting platform and your number one source for all your sports betting action. With baseball season in full swing, we're deep into NBA and NHL finals. And Bet Online has more ways to stay in on the action with the latest odds, news, and scores, even live in-game betting while the games are being played. We keep the dog days of summer rolling with the largest selection of odds on everything, with updated odds on Major League Baseball, UFC, and boxing to tennis and NFL futures. BetOnline remains the best online source for all your sports wagering info. In between games, head over to the BetOnline casino with all the top Vegas-style games, including poker and live casino. BetOnline, the game starts here. So the 49ers are not in pads, so we have to remember that. All this stuff is happening against air, happening against bags. And so evaluating certain elements to 49ers practice is a little bit more difficult. So if you're a coach and you're looking at certain things, a lot of times what you're evaluating is technique. You're evaluating your footwork. You're evaluating hand placement. Those are things you're looking at, right? Understanding where to line up, getting off the ball quickly, getting in and out of your break if you're a cornerback or a wide receiver, breaking it off at the top of their stem. There are certain things you're evaluating as they're going through everyday drills. When you're getting into 11 on 11, it's not as important the result as it is being in the right spot. So if you're a wide receiver and you run the correct route and the ball isn't there where you can't catch it, that's still a positive for the wide receiver. The quarterback, he might have done everything right except the throw. Still a positive. So evaluating practice is a little bit more difficult. But there is a lot of guys that did not participate in minicamp. So we're going to get an update. I'm going to go through who hasn't participated, why they haven't participated, and then what that means for training camp, if they're going to be available or not. 40 days is a long time to see if these guys are going to be available. But Ricky Pearsall did not participate. The good news is Kyle Shanahan said, hey, the hamstring, if he needed to, he'd be good to go. But why risk it? It's just mini camp. We're just going to be careful with Ricky. He's going to be ready to go for training camp. So good news on the Ricky Pearsall front. Mikael Williams was also not practicing. He was working on a side field. He has hamstring tightness. So once again, the 49ers being extra precautious with a young player, and this is going to happen. When you get out there, you do more work than you're used to, a different type of work as you're getting into football drills. It will push your body a little bit, but Mikael Williams is going to be okay, ready to go for training camp. That's good news to remember that. Juwan Jennings, he's been dealing with a calf, working on the side field. Alfred Collins been dealing with a calf, working on a side field, and a lot of people have been questioning and asking, hey, Ant, what is going on with Alfred Collins? He's still not out there. Well, he had the calf injury in the process of getting prepared for the combine and his pro day, and then he re-injured it leading up to the pro day, which saw him in the walking boot. So this is something that they knew he was going to have to deal with, but he's on the right track right now. He's been working on a side field over the last week and a half or so, And so he's trending in the right direction. Kyle Shanahan said he would be ready for training camp, and he just said that. So that's great news for the 49ers. Gross Matos, they said he's dealing with a knee issue, but it won't be a problem. He's going to be ready. They're just being smart with him. I think that is a good way to go. Fred Warner doing Fred Warner things. He's resting. Jair Brown ankle, right? He had the ankle operation. Said he's going to be ready for training camp. That's great news for the 49ers. Curtis Rourke, knee injury. We'll talk about him a little bit more in a second. George Odom, he's been dealing with a knee since the end of the season. And the 49ers said he will be ready for training camp. Darrell Luter Jr., he was, a guy that's been in and out over the last several, training camps. We'll see what happens with him. Safety Marquis Siegel, he's been dealing with a sports hernia. And so they say he's going to be ready for training camp as well. And then new addition, offensive lineman Andre Dillard is a player that's had his ankle scoped, and he's going to be ready for training camp. So that's when we'll kind of find out that tackle position. Spencer Burford been getting a lot of reps at left tackle, of course. Austin Pleasant's getting reps at right tackle. And so when Andre Dillard comes in, what will that mean for Burford or Pleasance? Who's going to take the step back? Because it's thought that Dillard's going to step into one of those roles. So that'll be something to monitor when we get into the training camp, is who becomes that next tackle back. Because whoever's not a part of that second group, it's going to be interesting. Now, of course, with Trent Williams not practicing most days at training camp, it will be probably either Dillard or Burford that get first team reps at left tackle, and the other one will be backup. So that'll be curious, because whoever's getting those first team reps, that means they're in the Jalen Moore role initially. They are the most likely to be the swing tackle for the San Francisco 49ers. Now, there are a group of guys, and I kind of said this about Rourke, that aren't going to be ready for training camp. So all the other guys that I mentioned, they're all going to be ready for training camp. The 49ers are feeling comfortable. But there are guys who are not going to be. And it starts with Brandon Ayuk. And the good news is Ayuk is out at mandatory minicamp, and he was walking around the wide receivers, even did a little light jog as they were going through some of their drills. So he's in the midst of recovery from the ACL. I think that we can all put to bed now that he's going to be ready for training camp. Both Kyle Shanahan said that, the way he looked on the field. I don't think this is a guy that's gearing up to be ready for training camp. This is a guy who looks like he will be ready sometime in the middle of the season, whether that's, the end of October, sometime at the end of November. That area there seems to be the most likely for Ayuk. They need to be, careful with him as well. And so that is something that is going to be interesting. When it comes to the other players, Malik Mustafa's not going to be ready for training camp, according to Kyle Shanahan. He's likely to be on the PUP list. All these guys, in fact, likely to start on the PUP list or the NFI, because they're not going to be available. And that does mean that roster spots are going to be open with the designations for these guys. So Ayuk, big one. Malik Mustafa, more than likely that means him starting the season on PUP list seems the most likely for Mustafa. Same with Curtis Rourke. He's not going to be ready to go. And if he's not ready to go for training camp, I think he becomes a prime candidate for a redshirt season for the 49ers, for them just to go ahead and shut him down. Of course, they could just keep him on PUP list the entire time and never bring him back. That is something they could definitely do. So Rourke, it doesn't look like right now he's going to have an opportunity to compete even with Tanner Mordecai for quarterback 3. So this is a long-term play for the 49ers when it comes to Curtis Rourke. And so that's going to be, an interesting portion of this, is just seeing what he's able to do. And then Curtis Robinson as well. Even though Curtis Robinson has been doing some running on the side field, and it's been almost a year since he had the knee injury, Curtis Robinson also is believed, according to Kyle Shanahan, to not be ready for the start of training camp. I don't know exactly when he ends up coming back, but this could be a huge blow to Curtis Robinson's chances of making this 49ers roster, because of the 49ers linebacker depth. They've added a lot of talent at the position. You added the young guy for sure, Nick Martin, but Chaz Surratt, you added Luke Gifford. Those guys are going to be moving into an opportunity to play. And Curtis Robinson, he has to be able to show up and show out and show Robert Saleh what he can do, but also Brant Boyer what he can do on special teams. So it could be a blow to his opportunity to make this football team. So I think that is a big takeaway from minicamp so far, is that those 4 players, we kind of got some understanding of what's going to happen with them. We know Malik is going to come back probably around week 5, to week 7 in that range. But it's now looking more difficult for a guy like Curtis Robinson to even make this team. We'll see. Maybe the 49ers end up putting him on the pup list, keeping him there. And that way, if they have an injury, they can bring him off the pup list later in the season. That's definitely something they could do as they look to play roster gymnastics and keep as many of their talented players. We know they like Curtis Robinson. Last year, he had an opportunity to get some plays. Now, when it comes to some of the big stars for the 49ers, they weren't out there practicing, of course. We've seen Trent Williams going through individual drills. So individual drills is when you're working over with the offensive line and you're going through drills there, but he's not going into the team portion and practicing. This is not uncommon. I go to training camp all the time, and this is kind of a Trent Williams thing. He'll be out there going through individual drills, kind of knocking the rust off, making sure he's ready to go. And then when they get to the team portion, he's not out there getting physical contact and working against these young players. He does it sometimes, but more days than not, he doesn't. And that's why Jalen Moore was taking so many reps in practice over the last few years. And so that could fall on Burford or Dillard. We'll see how that goes. Maybe they'll split reps. But Trent Williams wasn't taking any 11-on-11 reps. Neither was George Kittle. He didn't do anything in team. Of course, Fred Warner, he didn't do anything in team as well. When we get to training camp, Fred Warner will do everything in team. George Kittle will have days where he does everything. So this is more of a mini camp thing and less of a training camp thing that these guys won't. McCaffrey did get some work, and Kyle Shanahan said he's back to the old Christian McCaffrey pre-injury. He said that he's a maniac, and I think that this is a good signal to the 49ers and to 49ers fans that McCaffrey's going to be ready to go. Is he going to be 2023 McCaffrey? I don't know. That dude was crazy good. Maybe we could just get pretty darn good or really, really good. If that happens, you'll still have the effects of Christian McCaffrey. But the fact he's out there, I think, illustrates how good he's feeling when it comes to the Achilles tendonitis, which huge question mark, but then also the knee injury. He seems to be fully recovered. And Nick Bosa is getting reps in team, which, this is not something Nick Bosa has done over the last few years. So he's getting extra work in the process and preparing for the season. And I think nothing but good things, positive things can come out of this, which I absolutely love. And so that's the main goal for Kyle Shanahan, is getting these guys through the offseason program healthy and even through training camp healthy. So that way, when they get to the regular season, they're able to help this team. How can we get them, in shape, in the right frame of mind, running in this offense and defense, but still healthy? And they are definitely, making sure they take care of them. But there's huge benefits from having these players out there around the young players that are on the roster and the guys that are coming in, showing them the 49ers way. I think it's extremely important that you make sure that you have those guys around. And I think the 49ers are doing that in a big way. Now, the 49ers did do, certain type of work. They always will go through certain things that they work on. And a lot of times they kind of practice certain things when the media is around. And this is a portion where they were working on the red zone. And red zone work is important for the 49ers. It's a place that they struggled last year. But in 2023, they were one of the best teams in the NFL. And Brock Purdy is successful in the red zone a lot of times. He had a big touchdown to Kyle Juszczyk. He had a touchdown to Jordan Watkins yesterday inside the red zone. And that's huge. You have to make sure that you're hitting these guys and getting plays done. So it's good to see Watkins, who was a little bit of a red zone threat in college last year at Ole Miss. He's making some plays. And Kyle Juszczyk continues to do the things that he does. Now, it wasn't all clean for Brock Purdy. He had some times where he had balls batted down, and there are some other opportunities where, he threw an interception to D. Winters, which is great because D. Winters, we need him to make those plays, and we need him to step up and take the next step if this linebacker room is going to be able to handle the loss of Dre Greenlaw. But they definitely are getting some things done there. And these are passes, like we said, that these quarterbacks are going to take a chance on. They're going to throw some tight window throws to see what they are capable of doing, to test themselves. But it also gives opportunities to the defense to make plays. And that's what we want to see too. The defense go with their instincts, be able to make plays. So would Brock Purdy have made this throw if it was in a regular season game? Maybe not. He might have checked it down. But right now, take a shot. See what you can get away with. See what type of plays you can make. That will allow you to understand what your capabilities are heading into the season And also when you run these plays, which are, let's be honest, install plays. So there's a difference between the install plays and the install offense and what you're going to see on Sundays. Right now, what they're running is all the stuff that you build the offense off of. So these are all their base plays. Okay, so you're going to come in with a certain base plays, and this is the foundation that's set for what the playbook will look like as you go game to game. But this is what they have to do. Install is so important. So these aren't like very creative plays right now that are going to, confuse the defense. The defense knows what's coming. The offense knows what they're doing, but this is the process. The defense going through install too. So they're only running certain coverages right now. They're not really running blitz packages. They're working on certain things. Oh, on this play, I have a bail technique. Oh, on this play, I'm running cover two, so I do this. Everything is predicated on learning defense, learning offense, and then just trying to run these base plays. And these you build off of, and Kyle Shanahan has a lot of plays ready to go. Robert Saleh has a lot of plays ready to go that they will build out through training camp. And that's why as they put in things, as the training camp goes, and we're just in mini camp, and they'll start this all over to start training camp in phase 1 of training camp, is as this goes, then you'll start seeing them add more defense, add more blitzes. The offense will add, more tricks, more reverses, more screens. It's completely the people will start saying, I don't know why the 49ers are running play action at camp. Well, it's not play action time. It's when it's play action period, when they're ready to put that part of the install in, then you'll start seeing play action. So remember that too when you're talking about how these guys are doing at the first part of training camp is they're going to install this piece by piece. Same with the defense. And then the offense and defense work together to put together plans that are they want certain plays for the offense to run that'll stress certain defenses. So they'll put the coverage in a certain situation. And then they want ones that are going to stress the offense. Maybe it's a play call that defense is the worst for. How are we going to adjust? And so it's good collaboration. So remember that through the process too, as we talk about, some of these times where Brock Purdy is trying to squeeze passes in or maybe doesn't look as good at practice. Now, Mac Jones is the guy, I talked about this earlier, that he's trying to adjust, and I think that he's going to adjust. So you're going to hear some ups and downs from Mac Jones, especially early in training camp, the same way that it happened with Sam Darnold in 2023, is you're going to have some situations where Mac Jones doesn't look good because he is trying to figure out this offense. He's trying to figure out the timing. So there's going to be moments he looks phenomenal. There's going to be moments where he looks like he's a fish out of water. And that's going to be understandable. The key is when we get to the second, third preseason game, can Mac Jones get this together? So that way he's a capable starter if the 49ers need him in case something happens to Brock Purdy. But he is having some pretty good throws as well. He was able to connect with Demarcus Robinson for a nice gain. He connected with Jordan Watkins over the middle. So it's not like Mac Jones is completely bad. Yeah, he's having some struggles here and there, but I like the fact that Kyle Shanahan is wanting him to be a gunslinger and go out there and be willing. Hey, trust what you see. When that back foot hits, release the football. If you're in a 5-step drop and the back foot hits and you got to hitch it and let it rip. Let's trust what we see. Let's see what we can do. How good is our arm strength? How good is our anticipation? Those are some of the things that I love. And let's get some of those layered throws. Let's throw over that first level and see if we can get that player in behind, which I think he did a pretty good job of. So that was really fun to see that. And, how about this? How about Upton Stout, in one-on-ones being able to stay with Christian McCaffrey and not falling for some things. So there's an exciting thing there with Upton Stout. And, Fred Warner really loved that. He was all over the fact that Upton Stout was doing that. And a lot of guys were really, getting excited about Upton Stout. Deommodore Lenoir had some great things to say about Upton Stout. He said Upton Stout is way further along than he was as a rookie. And let's remember, Deommodore Lenoir had the rookie minicamp where he went viral for locking a receiver down. But after that, he did kind of struggle a little bit. Ambry Thomas elevated above him. The next year, they were looking for his sophomore year, and even Sam Womack elevated above him. So for him to say that, I think it's good news for the 49ers because they're looking for Upton Stout potentially step in. And if you're going to be able to go out there and cover Christian McCaffrey in the slot, I think that you're okay. He's a good route runner. So this is good news for Upton Stout, and we're early in the process. It's going to be a long training camp, But I think as long as he can figure out this defense, he's got a chance to start. And we all know that's the best situation for the 49ers is a very good Upton Stout playing nickel corner with Renardo Green and with Deommodore Lenoir on the outside. That will be your best group, especially if Stout can end up being that player that they hope that he can be. Now, one of the questions going into everything offseason has to deal with Jake Moody. And Jake Moody had himself a really good opportunity. He was showing off his new kicking motion. We know it's a two-stepper. And so he's going out there and kind of displaying this for the first time. And Kyle Shanahan jokingly said when someone asked him what he thought about it, because he kind of twists his leg when he does it. And Kyle Shanahan said, hey, field goals are going through the uprights, so I like it. And that's the key, right? Coaches don't care what it looks like. Coaches only care that it goes through. And so Jake Moody's doing an extensive work on himself to make sure he can be more accurate and take some of the problems out of it. And he had a pretty good day as well. And so this is good news. I mean, there's some people that are reporting he did miss one field goal. Others are saying he made it. And I kept trying to kind of figure out, what that was. But he made kicks of 33 twice, a kick from 40, a kick from 47, a kick from 52, and a kick from 55. And then they had one kick, the 37 yard field goal that they didn't know for sure if it went through or not. But the fact that he was able to hit a 47, 52, and 55 without missing, that says all I need to know. Whether the 37 yard field goal went through or not, that's what we want to see. Now, it's got to get more pressure situations, right? Because this is right now just practice. He's got to make sure that he goes out there and handles business. And, that's one of the keys to this time of the year is just making sure you get better. So we're going to have a competition at kicker, but it looks like Jake Moody has made necessary changes to his technique that so far hasn't hurt him when it comes to distance, because when you go from a 3-step kicking technique, you have a little bit more potential power because you can kind of walk into a ball, where if you are going with a 2-step, you have less momentum as you're moving forward. So that was one of the question marks for me when I heard he had changed his motion. But I'm feeling pretty optimistic about it now because the fact that he made a field goal of 55 yards, I mean, that's a good long field goal. And if that is the range that he can be anywhere from that, 55 to 58, if those are the range, you don't have a long ways to go if you're Kyle Shanahan and the offense to be able to get in field goal range for a player like Jake Moody. So that's something to, remember about it too. And, we're seeing these guys continue to make plays when you're talking about the 11 on 11s. And I think that you have some guys also that are kind of flying under the radar. And one of those guys is Spencer Burford. He took a lot of reps at left tackle. We're going to have to see how he does, throughout the time. But Luke Farrell also got the first look at Luke Farrell, what he's going to be doing when it comes to, playing tackle. And you got Trey Brown making some plays. He worked outside and inside at nickel. So there's another tidbit of information as we're going through. I'm just trying to go through all these guys and get it out there. But yeah, Trey Brown finally starting. Deommodore Lenoir said that's his guy. So, I mean, that's good news for the 49ers because I think there's a question when it comes to cornerback 3 still. And we talked about Upton Stout earlier, what he did to Christian McCaffrey. That's the best scenario. The backup scenario is that Trey Brown plays on the outside and the 49ers are able to roll with the other guys. So that's going to be a question. One of the things that we're noticing is that Jordan Watkins is having a good offseason. How is that going to translate into training camp time? And I think this is going to be one of the biggest positions to watch, with the questions now somewhat being answered about Ayuk's availability early in the season. I think we all already thought it was going to be later on. There is definitely a opening for other guys to step up. Pearsall, Jawan Jennings, they're going to be ready to go. Demarcus Robinson will be at training camp. We don't know about the suspension. Jacob Cowing continues to shine, and I should have brought up Jacob Cowing earlier. He continues to show up and show out. So you've got 2 young receivers in Watkins and Cowing that are making plays. I think where we're wanting to see what's going to happen is at the end of this roster as well, with guys like Isaiah Nair, Isaiah Hodgins, Russell Gage, Tariq Owens. Which one of these guys can step up? Because Kyle Shanahan said in his presser that they had a really good meeting with Gabe Davis. And Gabe Davis told him, he wanted to go meet with some other teams, see what was potentially out there before he made a decision. But he said that they liked Gabe in the whole process. They've liked him for a long time, and they're interested in potentially any player that's available. So the 49ers are not done. And of course, I did a video yesterday talking about, players the 49ers could potentially add still. And one of them I talked about was Gabe Davis, and Kyle Shanahan confirmed that they were potentially interesting. So I think that I'm excited about what the 49ers are going to be doing here, in mini camp, and then it's going to be time. It's going to be training camp, and we're going to have a window. We want to talk more about this roster during the offseason because there's a lot of things to get into. But thanks, guys, for watching this breakdown of minicamp. And we're gonna keep bringing more episodes your way. Let me know if you have a topic or something you want me to talk about during this offseason. Let me know in the comment section down below. Of course, there's all kinds of information available on Patreon where I'm still doing player breakdowns. Just pulling up of Israel Abanikanda. That's available. I also broke down Derek Canteen, the cornerback, that he's going to be competing for a job. But also, I just put out my game predictions. If you want to see who I think is going to win, that's available over on Patreon. You can go check that out. Thanks for watching. Please like and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. I really appreciate it. If you're listening on audio platform, 49ers Cutback on Believe Network, please give it a 5-star rating. This episode is brought to you by Bet Online. The game starts here. I'll catch you guys in the next one. Until then, stay safe. Remember, the right way is always the 49ers way.